The notification popped up on my laptop at 3:15 p.m. on a Tuesday, and I almost didn't click it. Almost. I'm Jason Wheeler, 42 years old, senior project manager at a tech firm in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'd been married to Amanda for 16 years. We had 2 kids, Olivia, 14, and Ryan, 11. We lived in a nice 4-bedroom colonial in the suburbs, drove sensible cars, and went to Myrtle Beach every summer. I thought we were happy. I really did. The notification was from our family cloud storage. Someone had uploaded photos from Amanda's phone. She'd been complaining about her storage being full, so I'd set up automatic backups to help her out. Being the helpful husband. Being the guy who fixes things. I clicked. The first photo was innocent enough. Amanda at what looked like a coffee shop, smiling at the camera. Her hair was different, styled in a way I hadn't seen before. She was wearing makeup, the kind she usually saved for special occasions. It was a selfie, taken at an angle that I recognized from when we were dating. That flirty angle. That look-at-me angle. My stomach tightened. I scrolled to the next photo. Amanda again, this time in our bedroom. Our bedroom. Wearing lingerie I'd never seen. Black lace, expensive looking. She was posing in our full-length mirror, the one next to the closet where I hung my work shirts every Sunday night. The timestamp said 11:23 a.m., last Thursday. I'd been at work. The kids had been at school. My hands were shaking now. I knew I should stop. I knew whatever came next would hurt. But I couldn't stop. It's like watching a car accident in slow motion. Your brain screams at you to look away, but your eyes won't obey. Next photo. Amanda in a hotel room. I recognized the chain, a Marriott, based on the distinctive headboard. She was sitting on the bed, legs crossed, wearing a dress I'd complimented her on just last month. She'd said she bought it for a lunch with her college friend Patricia. Girls' Day Out, she'd called it. The metadata on the photo showed it was taken 3 weeks ago, Saturday afternoon. She'd left the house at noon and come back around 6, talking about the new restaurant they'd tried, the shopping they'd done. She'd seemed happy, energized. I'd been glad she was taking time for herself. I felt bile rising in my throat. The next several photos came rapid fire, and I couldn't breathe. Amanda with a man. His face wasn't visible in most of them, cropped out, angled away, deliberately hidden. But his hands were there, his arms, his body next to hers. In one photo, they were at a restaurant, her hand on the table next to his. In another, they were in a car, her head tilted toward him. In another, I slammed the laptop shut. For maybe 30 seconds, I just sat there at my home office desk, staring at the closed laptop like it was a bomb. My heart was hammering so hard I could hear it in my ears. The afternoon sun was streaming through the window, dust motes dancing in the light. Everything looked so normal. So perfectly, brutally normal. I opened the laptop again. I had to know. I had to see all of it. Whatever it was. The photos continued. More hotels. More restaurants. Coffee shops. One showed them at a park I didn't recognize. Somewhere with palm trees, definitely not North Carolina. When had she gone somewhere with palm trees? My mind raced backward through the calendar. 2 months ago, she'd gone to visit her sister in Florida. 5 days. She'd FaceTimed me and the kids every night, showing us her sister's new patio furniture, complaining about the humidity. The timestamp on the palm tree photo matched those dates exactly. There were text message screenshots too, automatically backed up. I opened the first one. Can't wait to see you Thursday. Tell Jay you're meeting Patricia again. Jay. That was me. I was Jay in her secret life. Amanda's response. Already done. He never questions anything. Sometimes I think he doesn't even notice I'm gone. That one hit different. Not because she was cheating, I was already processing that, my brain moving through shock towards something colder, harder. But because she was right, I didn't question her. I trusted her completely. When she said she was meeting Patricia, I'd probably just nodded and asked if she needed cash for lunch. I scrolled through more messages. Weeks of them. Months, actually. The earliest ones I could find dated back almost 8 months. 8 months. I thought about the last 8 months of our marriage. We'd celebrated our anniversary in that time, 16 years. We'd gone to her company holiday party. We'd hosted Thanksgiving. Ryan had made honor roll, and we'd taken him to his favorite steakhouse to celebrate. We'd made love. Not often, maybe once every couple weeks. But that seemed normal for a couple married as long as we'd been. We'd talked about refinancing the mortgage, about whether Olivia was ready for a smartphone, about my mother's hip replacement. All of it. All of it had been a lie. Not a lie exactly. That was the thing that made it worse. It had all been real, just incomplete. I'd been living in the full story while she'd been living in 2 stories simultaneously. I was the husband in the suburban house and some other man was… What? What was he? I found my answer in a message from 3 weeks ago. I love you too. Can't wait until we don't have to hide anymore. Amanda had sent that. To him. Whoever he was. The front door opened downstairs. The sound of her key in the lock hit me like a physical blow. I had maybe 30 seconds. 30 seconds to decide who I was going to be when she walked through that door. The old Jason, the helpful husband, the guy who fixed things, the man who never questioned anything, would have closed the laptop, would have buried this deep, told himself there had to be an explanation, would have given her the chance to lie to my face. I left the laptop open, the message still glowing on the screen. I love you too. Can't wait until we don't have to hide anymore. Jason? Her voice floated up from downstairs, bright and normal. Your car's here. You home early? I didn't answer. Listened to her footsteps on the stairs, the familiar rhythm of her approach. How many times had I heard that sound and felt… What? Comfort? Safety? Love? She appeared in the doorway of the office, still in her yoga pants and fitted top. Hair pulled back in a ponytail. The same face I'd woken up next to for 16 years. Hey, I didn't expect… She stopped. Saw the laptop. Saw my face. The color drained from her cheeks in real time. I watched it happen with a kind of detached fascination. Jason. Different voice now. Careful. What are you doing? Reading. I turned the laptop toward her slightly. You should really check your cloud backup settings. Everything syncs automatically, every photo, every screenshot. She went completely still. I'd never seen her freeze like that before, like a deer caught in headlights, every muscle locked. I can explain. Don't. The word came out harder than I intended. Don't insult me more than you already have. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. I stood up, and she actually took a step back. Good. 8 months, Amanda. At least 8 months. The Marriott on 4th Street. That coffee shop on Elm. Your sister's house in Florida. Except you weren't with your sister, were you? Her mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. How much did you… All of it. I gestured at the laptop. The photos. The messages. The whole thing about Patricia covering for you. That was creative. I actually called Patricia once during that Florida trip, you know, to ask if you two wanted anything from that seafood place you both like. She sounded confused but played along. How much did you pay her to lie for you? Jason, please. Who is he? She blinked. What? The guy. The one whose face you so carefully cropped out of every single photo. Who is he? It doesn't matter. It matters to me. I was surprised by how calm I sounded. How cold. Do I know him? Is he someone from work? The gym? One of the other parents from school? She wrapped her arms around herself. I never meant for this to happen. That's not an answer. His name is Derek Patterson. We met at the community center. He teaches the adult pottery class I was taking. Pottery class. Jesus Christ. I'd encouraged her to take that class. Told her it would be good for her to have a hobby, something just for herself. How long have you been planning to leave? I asked. Her eyes widened. Don't lie to me anymore, Amanda, please. I'm asking for one honest thing from you. Just one. I pointed at the screen. Can't wait until we don't have to hide anymore. What does that mean if not leaving? She looked at the floor. We were talking about possibilities. Possibilities. The word tasted bitter. While I was at work. While I was helping Ryan with his science project. While I was booking our anniversary dinner for next month. You were planning possibilities with Derek from pottery class. It's complicated. It's really not. I closed the laptop, the click of it unnaturally loud in the silence. You made a choice. Multiple choices. Every time you met him. Every time you lied to me. Every time you came home and kissed me hello after being with him. She was crying now. Silent tears running down her face. Once upon a time, that would have broken me. Would have made me want to fix it, to make her feel better. Now I just felt tired. What are you going to do? She whispered. I don't know yet. That was honest, at least. But you need to leave. Tonight. Pack a bag. Go stay with Patricia, or your sister, or Derek. I don't care. But you're not sleeping in this house. Jason, the kids are at school for another 2 hours. You'll be gone before they get home. You can't just kick me out of my own house. Watch me. I pulled out my phone, fingers steadier than I expected. I'm calling my brother. He's a lawyer. He'll know what I can and can't do legally. But I'm pretty sure I can ask you to leave for the night. And if you refuse, I'm pretty sure showing him these messages will speed things along. She stared at me like she'd never seen me before. Maybe she hadn't. Maybe I'd never let her see this version of me. The one who didn't bend, didn't accommodate, didn't make everything smooth and easy. I'm sorry, she said. I'm so sorry. I believe you. And I did. I believed she was sorry she got caught. Sorry her carefully managed double life was crashing down. Sorry she had to face consequences. I just didn't care. Pack your bag, Amanda, you've got an hour. She stood there for another moment, like she was waiting for me to crack. To soften. To be the Jason she knew, the one who fixed things. I stared back, stone-faced. Finally, she turned and walked down the hall to our bedroom. I heard drawers opening. Hangers sliding on the closet rod. The sounds of her packing up pieces of the life she'd already mentally left behind. I sat back down at the desk and opened the laptop again. Started taking screenshots of everything. Not just the photos and messages I'd already seen, but her email, her social media, her call logs. Every piece of evidence I could find. My phone buzzed. A text from my brother Kevin. You never call me during the day. Everything okay? I typed back. Need a lawyer. Amanda's having an affair. Can you recommend someone who handles divorces? 3 dots appeared immediately. Disappeared. Appeared again. Jesus. Yeah, give me 10 minutes. I set the phone down and kept clicking through files. Found more photos, more messages. A whole folder labeled DP. Derek Patterson, presumably. Pictures of them at restaurants I'd never heard of. A beach somewhere that definitely wasn't Myrtle Beach. Him teaching her pottery, hands over hers on the clay, both of them laughing. In every photo, she looked happy. Genuinely, radiantly happy. That hurt worse than anything else. Not that she'd cheated, not that she'd lied, but that she'd found something with him that she clearly didn't have with me anymore. Maybe never had. I heard her footsteps in the hallway again. She appeared in the doorway, overnight bag in hand, eyes red and swollen. "I really am sorry," she said again. "For what it's worth. It's worth about as much as 16 years of marriage." I didn't look up from the screen. "I'll text you about when you can talk to the kids. Don't contact them directly until I figure out what to tell them. They're my children, and you should have thought about that before you decided to blow up their lives for a pottery teacher." She flinched. "Good. The garage code still works," I said. "If you need anything else, come when I'm not home. I'll let you know my schedule." "This is really how you want to do this? Cold and angry and—" "How did you want to do it, Amanda?" I finally looked at her. "Were you going to sit me down over dinner? Send me a text? Just disappear one day with Derek and let me figure it out?" She didn't answer. "That's what I thought. At least this way, you don't get to control the narrative. You don't get to make it easy on yourself." She hitched the bag higher on her shoulder. "I did love you. Once." "Yeah," I said. "I loved you too. Once." I turned back to the laptop, and after a moment, I heard her walk away, down the stairs, out the front door, her car starting in the driveway. Then silence. I sat in that silence for a long time, the afternoon sun slanting through the window, dust motes dancing in the light. Everything looked exactly the same as it had 3 hours ago. Everything was completely different. My phone buzzed again. Kevin. Called in a favor. Attorney named Rachel Brennan. Best divorce lawyer in Charlotte. She can see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. Sending you her info now. I saved the contact. Looked at the clock. 3:47 p.m. The kids would be home in an hour. I had 60 minutes to figure out how to tell them their mother wasn't coming home tonight. 60 minutes to become someone I'd never been before. I closed the laptop and went downstairs to start dinner. The automatic car wash on Sunset Boulevard wasn't my usual spot. I'd driven past it 1,000 times on my way to the office, always meaning to try it, but never bothering. Today, though, the RAV4 looked like I'd driven through a dust storm, and I had 45 minutes to kill before my meeting with the forensic accountant Kevin had recommended. The attendant, a kid maybe 22 with a clipboard, waved me toward Bay 3. "Pull up to the line, sir. We'll take it from there." I paid the extra $12 for the deluxe wash. Why not? The conveyor caught my front tires with that familiar clunk, and the car lurched forward into the tunnel. Soap sprayers hissed to life, coating my windshield in pink foam. That's when I saw it. Bay 4, maybe 15 feet to my left. Amanda's white Lexus SUV, the one she'd insisted on leasing last year because all the other moms have one. The windows were completely fogged over, which struck me as odd since the wash hadn't even started on her vehicle yet. It was just sitting there, stationary, waiting for the conveyor to engage. Then the SUV rocked. Slightly, but definitely. A movement that had nothing to do with water pressure or rotating brushes. My stomach dropped. The conveyor pulled me forward another few feet. Giant blue brushes descended on my hood, their bristles whirring. Through the gap between them, I could still see her SUV. The fog on the windows seemed deliberate now, intentional. And there, a hand, pressing against the rear passenger window from the inside, palm flat against the glass. Not Amanda's hand. Too large, too masculine. I'd told her I was meeting with the accountant at 2. It was barely 1:15. She thought I was across town, buried in financial statements, tracing the money she'd been siphoning from our joint account. She had no reason to think I'd be here, at this particular car wash, at this particular moment. The universe had a sick sense of timing. My RAV4 moved forward again. The brushes shifted to my windshield, and for a few seconds I couldn't see anything but blue bristles and white soap. When they passed, I had a clearer angle on her SUV. The rear window, 2 silhouettes close together. Too close. one on top of the other. Bile rose in my throat. The conveyor dragged me closer to the exit. In another 30 seconds, I'd be out in the sunlight, and she'd still be in there, hidden in the steam and soap, doing God knows what with the wash attendant. It had to be. The same kid who'd waved me in. No, wait. There had been two of them. One at the entrance, one inside the tunnel doing spot treatments. I'd barely glanced at the second guy, but I remembered him now. Older than the entrance kid. 30s maybe. Muscular build. White t-shirt with the car wash logo. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel. The final rinse cycle hit, and my car rolled toward the exit. I could see the attendant at Bay 4 now, the one who'd been inside the tunnel. He was walking back toward the entrance, adjusting his shirt. His hair was wet. Not from the spray, wrong pattern, like someone had run their fingers through it. The conveyor released my tires. I was supposed to pull forward into the drying area where they'd hand towel the mirrors and door handles. Instead, I threw the RAV4 into park right there at the tunnel exit and got out. "Sir, you need to..." The entrance kid started toward me. I ignored him. Walked straight back into the tunnel, water still dripping from the overhead sprayers. My shoes squelched on the wet concrete. The attendant, the one with the wet hair, saw me coming and his expression shifted. Guilt, clear as day. Amanda's SUV was still in Bay 4, motionless. The windows were starting to clear as the steam dissipated. I could make out shapes inside now. Movement. Someone scrambling. I grabbed the squeegee from the attendant's hand. He was holding it like a prop, like he just picked it up to look busy, and slammed it against the hood of Amanda's Lexus. The metallic bang echoed through the tunnel. "Get out!" My voice sounded foreign, too calm, too cold. "Both of you, now." The driver's door opened. Amanda stumbled out, her blouse buttoned wrong, her hair a mess. Her face went white when she saw me. "Jason, save it." I hit the hood again with the squeegee. Soap suds slid down the windshield. "Who else is in there?" The rear door opened. The attendant climbed out, trying to tuck in his shirt. He wouldn't meet my eyes. "Sir, I can explain." "Explain what?" "Explain why you're in my wife's car during your shift?" I looked at Amanda. "Or should I ask you to explain? Is this where the pottery class money really went? Paying for deluxe washes so you could..." "It's not... We weren't..." Amanda's voice cracked. The conveyor system was still running. It engaged Amanda's front tires with that same clunk, and the Lexus lurched forward. She grabbed for the door handle, but the car was already moving, pulling away from her into the tunnel. The attendant jumped back as the rear door swung shut on its own. "The car!" Amanda started after it, but I stepped in front of her. "Let it go." We stood there, the three of us, water dripping from the ceiling, brushes whirring in the background. The entrance kid had appeared at the tunnel mouth, looking confused. Another customer's sedan was waiting to enter Bay 3. I pulled out my phone. Opened the dash cam app. My RAV4 had a front and rear camera system. Kevin had suggested I install it 2 weeks ago to document Amanda's movements. I'd been reviewing the footage every night, looking for proof of where she really went during her errands. I hadn't expected it to catch this. "The rear camera has a wide-angle lens," I said, showing Amanda the screen. "See? It caught your SUV in the next bay. Time-stamped. GPS stamped. And the audio was crystal clear when I enhanced it." I hadn't enhanced anything. I had no idea if the dash cam had even recorded them. But Amanda didn't know that. Her face told me everything. The attendant was backing away. "Look, man, I don't want any trouble." "Too late." I turned to the entrance kid. "Where's your manager, the franchise owner?" "Mr. Castillo? He's in the office, but..." "Get him, now." The kid hesitated, looking between me and the attendant. Then he ran. Amanda grabbed my arm. "Jason, please, don't do this. It was a mistake. It was just what? Just a quickie during your car wash? How many times, Amanda? I shook her off. How many times have you been here? How many times with him? The attendant spoke up. Dude, she said she was separated. Separated. I laughed, and it came out harsh. We live in the same house. We had dinner together last night. Does that sound separated to you? His face went pale. Amanda's Lexus emerged from the tunnel exit, dripping and gleaming. The automated system had carried it all the way through. It rolled into the drying area and stopped, empty and perfect. A man in a polo shirt with manager embroidered on the chest came jogging from the office building. Mid-50s, balding, carrying a tablet. What's going on here? Carlos, why aren't you at your station? Carlos. The attendant's name was Carlos. Mr. Castillo, I said, keeping my voice level. I need to show you something. 20 minutes later, I was sitting in Mr. Castillo's cramped office, watching him review the dashcam footage on his desktop computer. I'd airdropped the files to his phone, and he'd pulled them up immediately. The video quality was better than I'd expected. You could clearly see Amanda's SUV in the adjacent bay. You could see the fogged windows. You could see the rocking motion. And when I'd gotten out of my car and walked back into the tunnel, the audio had picked up everything. Amanda's voice. Carlos's voice. The scrambling. Mr. Castillo's jaw was tight. This is on company property, during business hours. Yes, sir. Carlos has been with us for 8 months. He rubbed his face. Never had a complaint. Good worker. I'm sure he was very good at his job. Mr. Castillo didn't smile. He picked up his desk phone and dialed. Maria? Yeah, I need you to cut Carlos's final check. Effective immediately. Yes, I'm sure. Employee misconduct. I'll file the paperwork this afternoon. He hung up and looked at me. I'm sorry this happened on our premises, Mr. Wheeler. Mr. Wheeler. I'm terminating Carlos's employment. If you want to pursue this further, legally, I'll cooperate fully. I appreciate that. I stood. I'd like a copy of your security camera footage from today. All angles. I'll have it ready within the hour. You can pick it up, or I can email it. Email is fine. We exchanged information. When I walked out of the office, Amanda was sitting on a bench near the vacuum stations, her arms wrapped around herself. Her Lexus was parked in the far corner of the lot, still wet, still gleaming. Carlos was nowhere to be seen. I walked past her without stopping. Got into my RAV4. The interior smelled like artificial cherry from the wash. My phone buzzed. Kevin, asking how the accountant meeting had gone. I'd completely missed it. I texted back, change of plans. Need to meet today. I have more evidence. His response came immediately. How much more? Enough, I typed. Enough to bury her. The meeting with the forensic accountant was scheduled for Thursday morning, but Amanda didn't know I'd rescheduled it. That Tuesday morning, I'd told her it was happening at 10. She'd nodded, distracted, already planning whatever she had planned. What I actually had at 10 was a meeting with Rachel Brennan to review the car wash footage. I sat in her conference room, watching her face as she played the dash cam video on her laptop. The timestamp showed clearly. Tuesday, 10:17 a.m., my car entering the wash bay. The attendant, Carlos, according to his name tag in the footage, directing me forward. Then, 3 bays over, Amanda's white Lexus SUV rolling into position. Rachel paused the video. And you didn't know she was there? Not until I saw the windows fog up. I pointed at the screen. I was sitting in my car waiting for the cycle to finish. Looked over and recognized her license plate. She resumed playback. The footage showed me getting out of my car mid-cycle, walking between the bays with a squeegee I'd grabbed from a bucket. The automated brushes were still spinning, water cascading everywhere. Amanda's windows were completely fogged, but the silhouettes were unmistakable. "You banged on the hood with the squeegee," Rachel observed. "Yeah?" I remembered the sound of metal on metal, how the whole SUV had rocked, how the conveyor belt had kept pulling both vehicles forward, dragging them toward the exit whether anyone was ready or not. They scrambled pretty fast after that. The video showed Carlos stumbling out of the passenger side, clothes disheveled, nearly slipping on the wet concrete. Amanda had stayed in the driver's seat, hands gripping the steering wheel, staring straight ahead as her SUV emerged into the sunlight. The automatic dryers were blasting, but she looked like she wanted to disappear. I'd stood there in the wash bay, soaked, holding that squeegee like a weapon while Carlos ran toward the employee area. "And then you did what?" Rachel asked. "Went to the control booth. The wash has an override system. I used to work at one in college. Extended her cycle to continuous rinse. Figured she could sit there and think about things while the water kept coming." Rachel's mouth twitched. Not quite a smile. "How long?" 15 minutes before the manager noticed and shut it down manually. She made a note. "And the franchise owner?" "I emailed him the footage that afternoon. Carlos was terminated by end of business day. The owner called me personally to apologize, offered me a year of free washes." I shrugged. "I told him I'd be switching locations." Rachel closed the laptop. "This gives us a pattern of behavior. The affair with Derek Patterson, now this. It demonstrates impulsivity, poor judgment, risk-taking in semi-public spaces. Will it matter for the divorce? North Carolina allows fault-based divorce. We've already got adultery documented with Patterson. This is additional evidence of character and judgment, relevant for custody considerations." She leaned back. A married woman having relations with a car wash employee during business hours, in a vehicle, while her husband is supposedly at a meeting she thinks she knows about? It shows deception, calculation, and recklessness. I thought about Amanda sitting in that SUV, water pounding against the windows, unable to leave because the cycle wouldn't end. Trapped in her own mess while the world washed over her. "There's something else," I said. "I've been tracking her location." Rachel's eyebrow raised. "How?" "Family sharing on our phones. We set it up years ago when Olivia started staying after school for activities. Amanda never turned it off. And? She's been going to Derek's apartment, not just once or twice, regularly. Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, sometimes Saturday mornings when she says she's at yoga." I pulled out my phone, showed Rachel the location history I'd screenshotted. "She was there yesterday for 3 hours. Rachel studied the images. "Derek Patterson lives at this address?" I confirmed it through public records, looked up his lease information. He's been there 14 months. "Before the affair started?" "Yeah. She met him at the pottery class 8 months ago, but he was already established in Charlotte." I put my phone away. Makes me wonder if she knew about him before the class, if she sought it out. Rachel wrote something down. "We'll include this in discovery. The pattern matters. It's not just an affair. It's sustained, deliberate deception requiring planning and coordination." My phone buzzed. A text from Amanda. "Meeting going okay? Should be done soon, right?" I showed Rachel. She read it and shook her head. "What are you going to tell her?" she asked. "That it ran long, that there are some concerning findings the accountant wants to investigate further." I typed out a response. "Complicated. We'll explain tonight. Don't wait on dinner." Amanda replied immediately. "Okay, love you." I stared at those 2 words. Love you. Like they meant something. Like she hadn't been at Derek's apartment yesterday afternoon while I was picking up Ryan from soccer practice. "Jason," Rachel's voice pulled me back. "I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest." I looked up. "Are you doing okay?" "Emotionally, I mean. These discoveries, one after another, it's a lot to process." "I'm fine." You found out about an 8-month affair less than a week ago. You've been gathering evidence, tracking her movements, catching her in additional acts of infidelity. That's not fine. That's survival mode. I thought about the nights I'd spent in my home office, going through every photo, every message, every receipt. The spreadsheet I'd created documenting dates, times, locations. The folder on my desktop labeled Evidence with subfolders for Derek, Carlos, financial records, location data. I need to be methodical about this, I said. If I stop and think about what it all means, I didn't finish the sentence. Rachel nodded. I understand, but at some point, you'll need to process it, and you'll need to think about how you're going to tell Olivia and Ryan. That was the part I'd been avoiding. Every time I thought about sitting them down, explaining why their mother wouldn't be living with us anymore, why everything was changing, my mind went blank. Or worse, it filled with images of their faces, the confusion and hurt and questions I didn't know how to answer. Not yet, I said. Soon, though. Amanda will want to tell her version. You need to get ahead of that. I know. Rachel gathered her notes. The forensic accountant will have preliminary findings by next week. We'll schedule a full review then. In the meantime, keep documenting everything. Location data, messages, any unusual activity. Don't confront her about Carlos or the car wash. Let her think you're still processing the Derek situation. She already knows about Carlos. She was there when I banged on the hood. But she doesn't know you have video evidence. She doesn't know Carlos was fired or that you contacted the franchise owner. Keep it that way. I stood to leave. Through the conference room window, I could see downtown Charlotte, the skyline I'd looked at thousands of times from my office building a few blocks away. Everything looked the same as it had 2 weeks ago. Same buildings, same streets, same sky. But nothing was the same. One more thing, Rachel said as I reached the door. The continuous rinse cycle at the car wash. That was clever, but be careful. Don't do anything that could be construed as harassment or stalking. We want the moral and legal high ground. Understood. And Jason, change your passwords. All of them. Bank accounts, email, cloud storage, everything. If she has access to anything, cut it off now. I nodded and left. In the parking garage, I sat in my car. The same car that had been 3 bays away from Amanda's SUV on Tuesday. I could still smell the car wash soap, even though I'd been through 2 more washes since then trying to get completely clean. My phone showed Amanda's location. Home. Our home. The house I'd paid the mortgage on for 12 years, where our kids were growing up, where I'd believed we were building something permanent. I started the engine and headed back to work. I had a project review at 2, then a conference call at 4. Normal things. Regular things. Being the guy who keeps it together. Being the guy who documents everything. Being the guy whose wife didn't love him anymore, if she ever really had. The forensic accountant's report arrived 3 days after my meeting with Rachel. I'd been checking my email obsessively, refreshing every few minutes between conference calls and project updates at work. When the message finally appeared, subject line, Wheeler Financial Analysis, complete, I closed my office door before opening the attachment. $23,417. That's what Amanda had siphoned over 8 months. The accountant, a woman named Jennifer Caldwell, had broken it down with spreadsheets color-coded by transaction type. Cash withdrawals at ATMs near Derek's apartment. Venmo transfers to friends who didn't exist in any of our social circles. Restaurant charges that didn't match her claimed locations on those nights. A jewelry purchase for $1,800 that I'd never seen her wear. The pottery classes were real, at least. $80 a month. Everything else built around them had been scaffolding for the lie. I forwarded the report to Rachel with a single line. Add it to the file. Her response came back in under a minute. This helps. A lot. I sat there staring at the numbers until my vision blurred. $23,000. Money from the account we'd built together, that I'd contributed to from every paycheck for 16 years. Money that was supposed to be for the kids' college funds, for the kitchen renovation Amanda kept talking about, for our future. She'd spent it on hotel rooms and gifts for another man. My phone buzzed. Amanda again. Can we please talk? The kids are asking questions. I'd been staying at Kevin's place since the car wash incident, sleeping on his guest room bed and going to the house only when I knew Amanda would be at work. I'd taken clothes, my laptop, important documents. Left everything else exactly as it was. The kids. Olivia and Ryan. I hadn't figured out what to tell them yet, how to explain why Dad wasn't coming home. Amanda had apparently told them I was on an extended business trip, which bought me time but made my stomach turn. Another lie, this one using me as the cover story. We'll talk when my attorney says we talk, I typed back. Not before. 3 dots appeared immediately, pulsing for almost a minute before her response came through. Your attorney? Jason, this is insane. We can work this out. I made a mistake, but we have 16 years together. We have children. You can't just throw that away. A mistake. Singular. As if I didn't know about Derek, about the 8 months of planning and lying. As if the car wash had been some isolated incident of temporary insanity instead of a pattern. She still didn't know I had the photos, the messages, the location data. I deleted her text without responding and opened my laptop. The cloud storage folder was still there, still syncing. Amanda hadn't changed the password, hadn't stopped uploading. Either she didn't realize the account was shared, or she'd forgotten in the chaos of the past week. New photos had appeared since I'd last checked. Nothing incriminating, just pictures of the kids at dinner, a selfie of Amanda looking tired and red-eyed, a screenshot of a text conversation with someone named Lisa. I opened the screenshot, zooming in. Lisa. How bad is it? Amanda. He won't talk to me, won't answer calls. I think he's serious about divorce. Lisa. Because of the car wash thing? Amanda. I don't know what he knows. He came home that day and just told me to get out. Wouldn't explain. Wouldn't listen. Lisa. Maybe he's bluffing, trying to scare you? Amanda. Jason doesn't bluff. You don't know him like I do. When he makes a decision, he follows through. Lisa. What about Derek? Amanda. What about him? Lisa. Are you still? Amanda. No. I told him we need to pause until I figure this out. Pause, not end. Pause. I screenshot the screenshot and sent it to Rachel with the note. She's still in contact with the pottery instructor. Told him to pause until she figures out the divorce. Rachel's response: don't engage with her directly. Let her think she still has leverage. The more she talks to friends, the more evidence we collect. I closed the laptop and pressed my palms against my eyes until I saw stars. The methodical documentation, the evidence gathering, the strategic silence. It was working. Rachel had said as much. But it felt like living in 2 realities simultaneously. In one, I was Jason Wheeler, project manager, going to meetings and reviewing timelines and pretending everything was normal. In the other, I was someone I barely recognized, someone who set traps and collected ammunition and planned 3 moves ahead. Someone who'd locked his wife in a car wash and gotten a man arrested. My phone rang. Kevin's name on the screen. You eating tonight? He asked when I picked up. Because I'm ordering Thai and you look like you've been living on coffee and spite. I'm fine. That's not what I asked. Papers rustled on his end. Look, I know you're in the zone right now, the evidence gathering, strategic planning zone, but you still have to eat actual food and sleep more than 4 hours a night. I slept 6 hours last night. Jason. 5.5, he sighed. Thai food, 40 minutes. We're eating together, and you're going to tell me about something other than Amanda's affair or the divorce. Sports, work, whatever. Deal? Deal, I said, even though I couldn't remember the last time I'd thought about anything else. After we hung up, I pulled up the tracking app on my phone. The one I'd installed on Amanda's car using the OBD2 port. Perfectly legal since the vehicle was in both our names. The little blue dot showed her SUV parked at our house. She'd been there since 4:30, probably making dinner for the kids, helping with homework, performing the rituals of normal family life, while texting her friend about pausing things with Derek, while telling our children I was on a business trip, while spending money she'd stolen from our joint account. The blue dot didn't move. I watched it for 5 minutes, then 10, like somehow the act of observation would reveal something new. But it just sat there, stationary, marking the location of the house I'd bought, the life I'd built, the family I'd thought was mine. My email dinged. Another message from Jennifer Caldwell, the forensic accountant. Mr. Wheeler. Found something else you should see. The Venmo transfers to Patricia Smith, the fake friend Amanda claimed to meet. They're being immediately transferred out to another account. I'm working on tracking the endpoint, but it's going through 2 intermediary accounts first. This suggests premeditation and financial planning beyond simple affair spending. We'll update when I have more. JC. I read it twice, then a third time. Premeditation, financial planning. Amanda wasn't just having an affair. She was moving money, hiding it, building something I couldn't see yet. I forwarded the email to Rachel and added, "How soon can we freeze the joint accounts?" Her response came back almost immediately. "Filing emergency motion tomorrow morning. Judge should rule within 48 hours. Don't tip her off." Don't tip her off, as if I'd been doing anything but staying silent, watching, waiting. My phone buzzed again. "Amanda. Please. I know you're angry, but we need to talk about the kids. They need their father. I need you to come home." I stared at the message until the screen went dark, then set the phone face down on Kevin's kitchen counter. She needed me to come home. After 8 months with Derek, after the car wash attendant, after $23,000 and counting, after telling her friend she was just pausing things until she figured this out. She needed me. The laugh that came out of me sounded wrong, sharp-edged and bitter. I cut it off before it could turn into something else. 45 minutes until Kevin got home with Thai food. 48 hours until the judge ruled on freezing the accounts. However many days until Jennifer traced where Amanda's money was actually going. I could wait. I'd gotten good at waiting. I opened my laptop one more time and started a new document. Questions for attorney, financial discovery. Started typing. The blue dot on the tracking app still hadn't moved. The bank manager's office smelled like air freshener and desperation. I sat across from Patricia Novak, a woman in her mid-50s with reading glasses on a chain and the kind of professional smile that had been trained into her over decades. "Mr. Wheeler, I appreciate you coming in." She folded her hands on the desk. "When we received the court order this morning, I wanted to speak with you personally about the account freeze." "I appreciate that." I had the emergency motion paperwork in my messenger bag. Rachel had filed it yesterday afternoon, and a judge had signed it at 8 this morning. 48 hours, exactly as promised. Patricia pulled up something on her computer. The freeze is in place on all joint accounts as of 9:15 a.m. That includes checking, savings, and the home equity line of credit. Good. However, she looked at me over her glasses. Your wife attempted a wire transfer at 8:47 this morning, before the freeze took effect. My stomach dropped. How much? $15,000. I sat forward. To where? An account at Pacific Coast Credit Union, California routing number. She turned her monitor so I could see. The transaction was flagged by our fraud detection system because it was significantly larger than her typical transfer patterns. By the time we called to verify, The court order had come through, so we declined the transaction. 15,000. Amanda had been trying to move $15,000 to California at 8:47 in the morning, 28 minutes before the freeze. Do you have a name on the receiving account? Patricia hesitated. I can't provide that information without. It's my money too. Joint account. She looked at her screen, then at me. The receiving account is listed under the name Maria Santos. I didn't know anyone named Maria Santos. Amanda didn't have family in California. No friends that I knew of. Can you tell me when the account was opened? The California account? Mr. Wheeler, I really can't access another institution's. Can you tell me the previous transfers? The Venmo payments my forensic accountant found? Patricia's professional smile tightened. She typed something, scrolled. There were weekly transfers to Venmo starting 8 months ago. Amounts ranging from $200 to $800. Then about 6 weeks ago, the pattern changed. 2 transfers to the same California account. One for $3,000, another for $4,500. Jennifer had found the Venmo transfers but hadn't traced them past the intermediary accounts. This was new. Amanda had been sending money to California for 6 weeks. Large amounts. Thank you. I pulled out my phone and texted Jennifer. Need you to trace Pacific Coast Credit Union account. Name Maria Santos. Amanda tried to wire $15K this morning. The response came back in 30 seconds. On it. I looked at Patricia. Is there anything else unusual? Any other attempts? She called at 9:23 after the freeze was in place, asked to speak with me directly. When I explained the situation, she became. Patricia chose her words carefully. Agitated. She insisted there had been a mistake. Said she needed access to her funds immediately. What did you tell her? That the court order was valid and the freeze would remain in place pending the hearing. Patricia's expression softened slightly. Mr. Wheeler, in my experience, when someone reacts that strongly to an account freeze, it's because they had immediate plans for that money. I nodded. Amanda had been planning something for this morning, something that required $15,000 in California, and the court order had stopped her cold. My phone buzzed. Jennifer. Maria Santos. Account opened 5 weeks ago. Single account holder. Address in Sacramento. Sacramento. Amanda had never mentioned Sacramento. I typed back, can you find out who Maria Santos is? Already running it. We'll call you in an hour. I stood up, shook Patricia's hand. Thank you for your time, and for catching that transfer. Of course. She walked me to the door. Mr. Wheeler, change your passwords. All of them. If your wife had access to online banking, she may have access to other accounts too. I drove to Kevin's house in a daze. Sacramento. Maria Santos. $15,000. The pieces weren't fitting together, and that bothered me more than anything. I was good at patterns, at seeing how things connected. This was a gap in the data. Kevin was in his kitchen when I walked in, making coffee. How'd it go? She tried to wire 15 grand to California this morning, to someone named Maria Santos in Sacramento. He stopped mid-pour. Who the hell is Maria Santos? No idea. Jennifer's looking into it. I sat down at the kitchen table, pulled out my laptop. But Amanda's been sending money there for 6 weeks, almost 8,000 before this morning's attempt. California. Kevin set a mug in front of me. Derek's in North Carolina. The car wash guy was local. Why California? That was the question. I opened my laptop and pulled up the shared calendar Amanda and I had used for years. Family appointments, kids' activities, my work travel. I scrolled back 6 weeks to when the first large transfer had gone through. There. A notation in Amanda's color code. Weekend trip. Visiting college friend. I clicked on it. Friday to Sunday, 6 weeks ago. I'd been home with the kids. She'd said she was going to visit her college roommate in Atlanta. I scrolled forward. 4 weeks ago, another weekend notation. Spa weekend with Lisa. Lisa was her sister, who lived in Florida, not California. I pulled out my phone and called Lisa directly. She answered on the third ring. Jason, is everything okay? Did Amanda visit you 4 weeks ago? Spa weekend? Silence. Then, no. Jason, what's going on? Amanda called me yesterday, said you two were having problems, but she didn't want to talk about it. She told me she was spending the weekend with you, 4 weeks ago. I haven't seen Amanda since Christmas. Lisa's voice got quiet. Jason, what's happening? I'll explain later. Thanks, Lisa. I hung up before she could ask more questions. Kevin was watching me from across the table. She lied about 2 trips, I said. Told me Atlanta and Florida. Both weekends she was probably in California. With Maria Santos? Or someone connected to Maria Santos. I opened a new browser tab and searched for the name. Too common. Thousands of results. My phone rang. Jennifer. Maria Santos is a real person, she said without preamble. Age 28, lives in Sacramento, works as a paralegal at a family law firm. 28. A paralegal at a family law firm. Which firm? Hartley and Associates. They specialize in California divorces and custody cases. The room tilted slightly. Amanda's been paying a California divorce attorney? Not the attorney, the paralegal. But here's what's interesting. I pulled Maria Santos's social media. She's not a paralegal anymore. 3 weeks ago, she posted about starting her own consulting business. Financial consulting for women going through divorce. Kevin leaned closer, listening. What kind of consulting? I asked. Asset protection. Helping women secure their financial future during divorce proceedings. Her website went live 2 weeks ago. Very professional. Testimonials from anonymous clients about hiding money, establishing separate accounts, creating paper trails that protect assets from vindictive spouses. I felt cold. Amanda's been planning this. For at least 6 weeks, yes. Probably longer. The Venmo transfers that started 8 months ago? I traced 3 of them to a different consulting service. This one in Nevada. Same concept. Helping women hide assets before filing for divorce. 8 months. The same timeline as the affair with Derek. Amanda hadn't just been cheating. She'd been preparing, building an exit strategy, learning how to hide money, how to protect assets, how to make sure that when she finally pulled the trigger on our marriage, she'd walk away with as much as possible. The $15,000 this morning, Jennifer continued, that was probably a final payment. Something urgent. My guess? Maria Santos was supposed to help her move money today before any court orders could freeze things. But we beat her to it. By 28 minutes. I thanked Jennifer and hung up. Kevin was staring at me. She's been planning to divorce you for 8 months, he said. The affair, the money transfers, the California trips, all of it was preparation. I nodded. The affair with Derek wasn't a mistake or a moment of weakness. It was part of a larger plan. Amanda had been systematically preparing to end our marriage while still living in it, still sleeping beside me, still sitting across from me at dinner with our kids. My phone buzzed. A text from Amanda. We need to talk, face to face, tonight. I showed Kevin. Don't, he said immediately. Not without Rachel present. But I was already typing back. Where? The coffee shop was neutral territory. A Starbucks halfway between Kevin's place and the house. I arrived 10 minutes early and took a table in the back corner where I could see the entrance. Rachel had insisted on being present, but I'd overruled her. Some conversations needed to happen without attorneys. Amanda walked in at exactly 6 o'clock. She looked thinner than I remembered, her face drawn. She'd cut her hair shorter. When she spotted me, something flickered across her expression. Relief, maybe, or resignation. She sat down across from me without ordering anything. "Thank you for meeting me," she said. "You have 10 minutes." She flinched. "Jason, I know you're angry." "I'm not angry." And I wasn't. The cold rage that had sustained me through the evidence gathering, the account freezing, the discovery of Maria Santos, all of it had burned itself out. What remained was something quieter, sadder. I'm just done. I never meant for any of this to happen. You paid a consultant in California to help you hide assets. You planned this for 8 months. Every single part of it was intentional. Her eyes widened. How did you? It doesn't matter how I know. What matters is that I do. I pulled out a folder and slid it across the table. Rachel's filing the final paperwork tomorrow. You'll get 50% of what's left in the accounts after we deduct what you tried to steal. I get primary custody of Olivia and Ryan. You get supervised visitation until the therapist clears you for more. She opened the folder with shaking hands. Supervised? Jason, they're my children. You abandoned them emotionally 8 months ago. Physically when you started your California trips. They deserve stability, and I'm going to give it to them. This isn't fair. Fair? The word tasted bitter. You want to talk about fair? You stole $23,000. You had an affair, multiple affairs. You were planning to divorce me while pretending everything was fine, while I was helping Ryan with homework and booking our anniversary dinner. Tears were running down her face now. I did love you. Once. I got lost somewhere. You made choices, Amanda. Every single day for 8 months, you chose this. You chose Derek. You chose Carlos. You chose Maria Santos and her asset protection scheme. Those weren't accidents. They were decisions. She wiped her eyes. What did you tell the kids? The truth. An age-appropriate version of it. That you and I weren't going to be married anymore. That sometimes adults make mistakes that can't be fixed. That they're loved, and none of this is their fault. How did they take it? I thought about Olivia's face when I'd sat them down 3 days ago. The way she'd nodded slowly, like she'd already suspected. Ryan had cried, and I'd held him while he asked questions I didn't have good answers for. They were staying with me at Kevin's for now, sleeping on air mattresses in the living room until I could find us a new place. They're hurt, confused, angry at both of us. I met her eyes. But they'll be okay. Kids are resilient. Amanda was silent for a long moment. Then, what about you? Will you be okay? I considered the question. The past 3 weeks had been the hardest of my life. But somewhere in the documentation and the evidence gathering, in the cold strategic planning, I'd found something unexpected. Clarity. I knew exactly who I was now. Not the helpful husband who fixed things, not the guy who never questioned anything. Someone stronger, someone who wouldn't accept less than he deserved. Yeah, I said. I will be. She signed the papers without reading them. Her hand trembled as she wrote her name, but she didn't argue, didn't try to negotiate. Maybe she knew she'd lost, or maybe she was just tired of pretending. When she finished, she slid the folder back to me. I really am sorry. I know. And I did. She was sorry it had ended this way. Sorry she'd been caught. Sorry she had to face consequences. But sorry doesn't fix what you broke. I stood up to leave. She stayed seated, staring at the table. Jason? Her voice was small. Do you think you'll ever forgive me? I thought about forgiveness. What it meant, what it required. Forgiveness wasn't about forgetting or excusing. It was about releasing the anger so it didn't poison everything that came after. Maybe someday, I said, but not for you. For me. 6 months later, I stood in the kitchen of our new apartment, a three-bedroom place closer to the kids' school. Olivia was at the table doing homework, her headphones on, bobbing her head to music I couldn't hear. Ryan was in the living room building something elaborate with Legos, narrating the construction process to himself. The divorce had been finalized 8 weeks ago. Amanda had moved to an apartment across town. She saw the kids every other weekend now, unsupervised after she'd completed the court-mandated therapy. Derek was gone. Apparently, the reality of dating a woman with 2 kids and a messy divorce had been less appealing than the fantasy. I didn't know if she'd found someone else. Didn't care to know. The forensic accountant had recovered most of the money. Maria Santos's consulting business had been shut down by California authorities after I'd provided evidence to the state bar. Turned out helping people commit financial fraud during divorce proceedings was illegal. Who knew? My phone buzzed. A text from Rachel. "How are the kids adjusting?" "Good days and bad days," I typed back. "But more good than bad lately." It was true. Olivia had been angry at first, especially at me for breaking up the family. But her therapist was helping her understand that the family had been broken long before I'd discovered the truth. Ryan missed having both parents in the same house, but he'd stopped asking when Mom was coming home. They were healing. Slowly, imperfectly, but genuinely. So was I. I'd started dating again. Nothing serious, just coffee with a woman from work, dinner with someone Kevin had introduced me to. It felt strange, relearning how to be single after 16 years, but also liberating. I got to choose who I became next. "Dad?" Ryan appeared in the kitchen doorway. "Can we have tacos for dinner?" We had tacos Tuesday, but these would be Thursday tacos. Completely different. I laughed. "Sure, buddy. Thursday tacos it is." As I pulled ingredients from the fridge, I caught my reflection in the microwave door. Same face I'd had 3 weeks ago when that cloud storage notification had changed everything. Same eyes, same lines around them. But something was different underneath. I'd learned that trust wasn't the same as willful blindness. That love required honesty as its foundation. That sometimes the person you thought you knew best was actually a stranger wearing a familiar face. I'd learned that strength wasn't about never getting hurt. It was about what you did after the hurt, whether you let it destroy you or used it to rebuild something better. Most importantly, I'd learned that I was enough. Just me. Not as half of a couple, not as the helpful husband who fixed things. Just Jason Wheeler, 42 years old, father of 2, doing his best to build a life worth living. The screenshot that changed everything hadn't destroyed me. It had freed me. And that, I thought, as Ryan helped me chop lettuce and Olivia emerged from her homework cave asking if we had sour cream, was worth more than 16 years of comfortable lies. The tacos were pretty good too.